Yo, what's up everyone, this is Kaiser War here. So Chaos Code Nemesis Experiment is finally getting more news. And by more news, I mean a lot of news. Like, a bunch of trailers have come out in the past couple of weeks on top of stuff about it being on the arcades boards, stuff about its location tests, comments from the creator Mickey Lin. It's been a lot recently, like more than we had in a while, because Chaos Code's most recent, like excluding this, its most recent like stuff was like a tournament that happened like almost a year ago, and it's kind of funny seeing how we're just getting all this news now because it's ready for its release on Japanese arcades. So it's nice to see that Chaos Code Nemesis Experiment is getting more and more news. I like seeing the new art for specific characters. I like seeing the new redesigns for characters such as like Hermes and Kagari. These designs were actually seen about a few years ago when Chaos Code Nemesis Experiment was known as Chaos Code Next, when they were showing off the characters for the game for the very first time. And I really never really commented on that until now, because I didn't really pay attention to the fact that like Kagari and Hermes had new designs, even though they blatantly did. I just never really looked at the characters that hard in those previous shows because it was so long ago. But yeah, well, technically not just these two. Technically, Kate and Sif also have slightly new redesigns, but I like the way this new art style looks. I really hope we get more higher quality images of the characters so I can actually see what they look like, especially like the character portraits in like the character select menu. I would love to see more of these portraits because all I have so far is extremely low quality images of what they look like from the previous time we've seen them, which was the tournament I mentioned that happened almost a year ago. That's that's pretty much the last time we can actually see these portraits like in a good way. I mean, more people probably screenshot them now, but they're not really that good quality because they're all streams, and streams take a massive hit during the bitrate. So we're just going to have to wait until they actually release the full character portraits officially, which I hope we see soon. Before I talk further, I have to talk about the new characters, and by new characters, I really mean just one new character. That is Chaos Crusher Go, or Go Takamoto. He's brand new to Chaos Code Nemesis Experiment. He was seen in Ray's arcade ending for Chaos Code New Sonic Catastrophe, but he's finally here as his own playable character, which I like. It's nice seeing that these characters that we only see in the arcade modes actually become playable characters. It's nothing new at all. Like, plenty of games have done this before, but it gives more credence of other characters that appear in the arcade mode for Chaos Code. Like, for example, versus wife, girlfriend, partner, whatever have you. I mentioned before in a previous video that I want to see her playable as well, which I would love to see. She looks cool. Her design looks super sick, so why not just have her as a playable character? I also mentioned I wanted to see Bravo's mentor as a playable character as well. I would like to see just these characters here, because they have really good designs, and I would just hate to see them wasted. There's also Kurenai that I want to see playable as well, because it would just make sense. She seems to be, like, outside of Kudlock, the other main antagonist of Chaos Code, so it would be nice to see her playable as well. Still hoping that my theory on Kagari being possessed by Kurenai is real, but the more we go on seeing Kagari playable, my theory is starting to die more and more, where it's just basically just Kagari in a new outfit, and I'm okay with that, but damn, my theory would have been so cool. Also, it's weird to see that we have Hikaru, but no, like we have MG Hikaru, who's basically an alternate form of the regular Hikaru, the main character of Chaos Code, who was basically his more otaku nature kind of ramped up, and even some of his moves were different as well. So basically they were kind of two separate characters. But regular Hikaru isn't here. It's kind of weird that MG Hikaru is like the one taking center stage when, like, granted, you wouldn't really know MG Hikaru really exists without like actually toggling to him when you're playing New Sonic Catastrophe. And that's something you're just not going to see in the character select menu. You would have to actually know about that outside the game or just by accident when you're playing New Sonic Catastrophe. But like, it's kind of funny seeing MG Hikaru basically taking the place of original Hikaru. So like, it's like an alternate version of the character being the face rather than just the original character being the face, if that makes any sense. It's just kind of funny seeing him, but not regular Hikaru. I think that's what they're going for, which I guess it makes sense. I feel like MG Hikaru showed more personality than regular Hikaru did, so I assume that's probably why they're using him as like the face of like Hikaru rather than just like his original self. I think it makes sense when you really think about it. Now, there is a massive, massive elephant in the room in regards of Nemesis Experiment, and that is the fact that it is locked to Exa Arcadia. Exa Arcadia is a Japanese arcade company that brings back old games with new updates for Japanese arcades. Like, for example, that's how we're getting Breaker's Revenge Chicago. You know, the newest version of Arcade and Heart, Love Max 6 Stars Extend is on there, stuff like that, right? And there's a bunch of other games on there as well. They're bringing back stuff like Fallen Angel or Dairaku Tenshi, I think that's the Japanese name for it, which was a game that was really never completed. So they're gonna put that on Exa Arcadia and like make it an actual full game, like an actual like full game people can like go to the arcades and play. Now, this all sounds great because I feel like Nemesis Experiment really wouldn't exist without Exa Arcadia, because Chaos Code is a very small series, right? FK Digital is a very small company, right? It's a very Taiwanese company, so I can understand they don't have like a bunch of funds to kind of, you know, make constant versions, because New Sonic Catastrophe is just like the upgraded version of Chaos Code that came out in 2011, and the only arcade release after that was Exact Xeno Attacked that came out I think 2020 if I remember correctly, and that's just an upgraded version or just maybe an arcade balance patch for New Sonic Catastrophe. So, you know, again, arcades are still huge in Japan, and of course some of these games pretty much wouldn't exist without the arcade stuff going on, right? But Exa Arcadia is different. Exa Arcadia has this really big issue where a lot of their releases are locked to the arcades, right? And they have a grip on the specific games that go on there. I get it, they're the ones essentially funding these new versions of these games. I totally understand that. But like, Exa Arcadia has like a massive grip on a lot of these games, and they refuse to let them be ported, because I think that if they did so, it would lose them money, right? Because Japanese arcades, while they're still big, they are not like as big as they used to be. You know, they'll take a loss of not having these games in there, because people just go buy the console versions and play them as well. And Exa Arcadia is very, very controversial in regards of games like this, because like, you look at Nemesis Experiment and you're thinking like, damn, is this game ever going to come out, right? That's the problem. Like, it's going to come out in Japanese arcades soon, which is great, but it getting a console port is a whole nother story. That's what makes me so nervous. Now, the creator Mickey Lin has commented about console release. He said that he's already said that the arcade release is like the first step, right? And then the console release will be later. But the problem is, like, it's Exa Arcadia we're dealing with. Now, ultimately, you know, Chaos Code's rights belong to FK Digital, right? I don't know how tight the grip on these newer versions are for, like, Exa Arcadia. Like, for example, like, Breaker's Revenge Chicago, how much of a grip does Exa Arcadia have on that specific version of the game, right? Because if they're technically the publishers for these games, that also makes it worse, because publishers do have a lot of sway in regards of games like this, right? Like, and it becomes really apparent when like stuff like Arcane Heart 3 Love Max 6 Stars Extend, its most current version has not even been out like on consoles or even Steam yet. Extend is on Steam, but its current version isn't, and that sucks, right? Breaker's Revenge is out on consoles and PC and stuff like that, but Breaker's Revenge Chicago is new, and we don't even know when that's going to come out. Granted, it's not like anything drastically new, but like, it's the newest version of Breaker's Revenge, and that's what gets me. And Chaos Code is the same thing. Now, I do hope we'll see a version soon, but I don't think we're going to see one anytime soon, because, like, first of all, we only have one character out, new character, and that's Go, right? So I don't know how long this arcade release is going to last before, you know, we actually get the game on consoles, right? Because obviously these arcade releases do take a while, because they got to add new characters in, balance those new characters, maybe add new stages, you know, all that kind of stuff. So these arcade development, the arcade developments for these games will take a while. And I don't know how long it's going to take Nemesis Experiment to even get a port of any kind. That's what I'm nervous about, because I would be severely bummed out if this was just locked to arcade only. I don't think it'll be on arcades forever, but it's Exa Arcadia we're dealing with here. It could possibly be on there forever, and I would hate that. I don't really want to go this massively long tangent about the arcade release like this, but I have to talk about it because that's really the only release that we have for Nemesis Experiment so far. We don't have any concrete plans for anything on consoles or PC anytime soon. So we're just gonna have to kind of sit here and just wait while the game gets updated in arcades, and that's pretty much all that's gonna happen for now. There is one funny thing I actually do want to talk about. So there's this character in the game known as Kudlock, right? He is basically the final boss you face in the arcade mode when you play Chaos Code New Sonic Catastrophe, right? So when you fight him, his name is rendered as Kudlock Sin, and his name is even rendered as Kudlock Sin when you play as him in the game, right? So I saw a screenshot from like the very first release of Chaos Code back on the PS3, and I saw that his name was Kudlock Ima. And I was confused about that. I was wondering, like, why is his name Kudlock Ima here, but Kudlock Sin here? I didn't think too much on it at first, but then it started to bug me more and more until I eventually had to, ask Mickey Lynn himself. And I honestly did not expect him to actually answer. So I went on Twitter and went directly to Mickey Lynn and asked him, may I ask a question? Is there a reason for the name difference between Kudlock Sin and Kudlock Ima? And he actually responds, This is a good question. Ima is Kudlock's family name, and Kudlock Sin is used to distinguish the boss and player version from the last game. They're actually different. In the PV, which is a mistake, it should be Kudlock only. Which I am actually pretty grateful for, like, learning this, because, like, first of all, I never really actually expected Mickey Lynn to even ever respond to me. Like you never really expect a game creator to ever respond to you at all. Secondly, it's actually kind of cool for I learned this thing now, because I didn't really expect it Kudlock to actually have a family name. It may not mean much to some people, but I think this is actually really cool to learn. I like this. Yeah, that's all I really have to say about that. I'm excited. I definitely want to see more characters. But as for wanting to play the game, I really want to. But it's going to be a long while before that happens, especially now we're dealing with goddamn Exa Arcadia. That's my main issue. Again, I get that we probably wouldn't have an NEMESIS experiment without it, but man, I just think about all the games that are stuck on that thing, and they could do that console ports already, but man, I don't want to be like an old man, and then Chaos Code NEMESIS experiment finally comes out, and I'm like, just my last breath is like, I can finally play it, and I die before I even get to select MG Hikaru.